I still remember the exact sound the key made when it turned in the lock, a soft metallic click that felt like the final note of a dream I'd been chasing for years. I pushed the glass door open, stepping into the warm golden glow of my restaurant. My first restaurant. My life's work. The place I built from the nights I worked double shifts, from the mornings I skipped meals to save money, from the loneliness of believing no one would ever understand how much this meant to me. But before I could even take in the moment, before the joy could actually settle into my chest, the front door opened behind me. My husband stepped in. He didn't smile. He didn't congratulate me. He didn't even look surprised. Instead, he looked around with slow, evaluating eyes, then said coldly, "My mom deserves this more than you." Everything inside me went completely still. My fingers froze around the keys. My breath stopped halfway in my lungs. I turned to face him, expecting a smirk, a joke, some sign that he wasn't serious, but there was nothing. His face was blank and calculating, as if he weren't speaking to his wife, but to an obstacle. Before I could even form words, another voice chimed in from behind him. "Oh, it's smaller than I expected, but workable." My mother-in-law stepped in like she owned the place, sweeping her eyes across the room with the entitlement of a queen inspecting her palace. She ran her hand along the counter, tapped the bar stools, peeked into the kitchen. "I can remodel this," she declared. "Make it look like a real restaurant." My stomach dropped. I hadn't even told her I bought it. I hadn't told anyone except my husband. He had promised, that for once, he'd keep his mother out of something that mattered to me, but she was here. And she wasn't surprised. They had planned this. My husband stepped forward, ignoring the shock on my face. "Mom's always wanted a restaurant," he said casually, as if discussing the weather. "She just never had the opportunity. But now she does." He placed his hand on my shoulder like he was comforting me. "Think of it as a gift." A gift. He wanted me to give away the dream I'd spent years building. The dream I'd bled for. The dream I thought he supported. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. "I bought this with my own savings." He shrugged. "And Mom deserves it more." My throat tightened so much it hurt. He had contributed nothing. Absolutely nothing. I paid for the equipment, the renovations, the licensing, the staff training. Every grain of it had come from me. From nights I came home exhausted, smelling of grease, hands shaking from work. From money I tucked away in envelopes because I didn't trust him not to waste it. As I stood there, struggling to breathe through the betrayal, I noticed something I had never seen before, the look he exchanged with his mother. A silent understanding. A plan that didn't include me. I suddenly felt sick. When I first married him, I believed his charm. His big dreams. His "I'll be something one day" speeches. I worked double shifts at the diner while he hopped from one job to another, always with an excuse, always blaming a manager, a coworker, the system. And through it all, his mother insisted I was the problem. "You push him too much. You don't appreciate him. He's a genius, you can't expect him to work like everyone else." But when I mentioned wanting to start a restaurant someday, "Oh sweetheart," she said with a laugh. "You? Running a business? Be realistic." My husband repeated her words so often I started hearing them in my sleep. "Mom says I should handle the money. Mom thinks you're too emotional to make business decisions. Mom has more business sense than you." His mother, a woman who had never successfully run anything in her life, was apparently born with more intelligence than me, yet here I was. In my restaurant. A place she had never believed I could build, and she walked around giving orders like she already owned it. "Move those chairs," she snapped at two employees who had just arrived for training. They looked at her in confusion. I stepped forward. "They don't know who you are." Her eyes narrowed, offended. "They will." She clapped her hands loudly, summoning them like children. "I'm the real owner. Starting today, everything goes through me." My chest burned. I felt myself shake, not from fear, but from pure disbelief. They weren't just invading. They were stealing all the years of saving, all the nights of crying in the bathroom because life felt too heavy, all the humiliation of working while my husband stayed home, playing video games, claiming he was waiting for the right opportunity. And now that opportunity was my dream. My husband walked toward me, his voice soft but chillingly firm. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Mom deserves this." I stared at him, really stared at him, and wondered how long he had been waiting for this moment. How long he had been feeding his mother my ideas, my plans, my progress. How many times had he called her while I worked late, telling her what he would give her someday? How many red flags had I ignored because I wanted to believe he loved me? My throat felt raw. My mother-in-law turned to me. "Don't worry. You can still work here, maybe as a waitress. You're good at that." Something shattered inside me. My husband reached into his backpack, pulled out a thick folder, and held it out to me. "Just sign it," he said calmly. "You'll understand soon." There was something dark behind his eyes. Something final. My fingers trembled as I took the folder. My mother-in-law crossed her arms, watching with a small, satisfied smile. I opened the first page. My breath stopped, the camera cuts. The moment I opened the folder, my hand started to shake so violently I almost dropped it. The restaurant hummed faintly around me, chairs being moved, silverware clinking, my mother-in-law barking orders, but all of it blurred into static as my eyes registered what I was seeing. Transfer of ownership agreement, prepared, signed, stamped, not by me, but with my forged signature, and the beneficiary listed in bold at the top, new owner, Patricia Evans, mother-in-law. My breath left my body like someone punched me in the lungs. I took a step back, gripping the papers with numb fingers. You want the restaurant and her name. I whispered. My husband didn't even blink. It's what makes sense. Sense? My voice cracked. This is my dream. His expression shifted instantly, like a mask dropping. And Mom deserves it more. I stared at him, at the man I thought I knew. His face hardened, the softness he once used to charm me was gone. In its place, something cold and vicious glinted in his eyes. Sign it, he repeated. Stop being dramatic. Something inside me froze. He wasn't negotiating. He wasn't confused. He wasn't making a mistake. He had planned this, and he was expecting me to surrender. My voice steadied. I'm not signing anything. He laughed, a harsh, bitter sound I'd never heard from him before. You think this place is really yours? Mom deserves it. She's the one who raised me, supported me, believed in me. And what about me? I whispered. You? He scoffed. You just got lucky. Lucky that I worked double shifts, lucky that I saved every dollar I could while he wasted his, lucky that I built this place brick by brick while he slept in. Before I could react, my mother-in-law stormed over and snatched the folder out of my hands. Of course it's mine, she snapped. I've always wanted a restaurant. Always. For 30 years. Your husband grew up listening to my plans. My dreams. Do you know how many times I tried to start one? And every time, someone ruined it for me. She glared at me like I was the someone who ruined her past failures. I felt my stomach twist, her voice grew louder, making sure everyone in the room heard. But finally, the universe has given me what I deserve. Istertahia. You didn't build this. She stepped up, inches from my face. But I should have. And then it hit me, this wasn't sudden, this wasn't random, this wasn't confusion. This was a long-held obsession. A dream she failed to achieve, and decided to steal from me instead. My husband had told me stories about how his mom had tried, and failed, to open a small cafe in her 20s. How she blamed investors, partners, inspectors, anyone but herself. She had never accepted responsibility, and she never let the dream go. For decades, she collected menus, clipped magazine articles about famous chefs, critiqued restaurants while eating free bread baskets. It wasn't passion. It was entitlement. She believed the world owed her what she could not build, and now she believed I owed it to her. Because my husband had been feeding her lies. I took a deep breath. Why would you think you own this? I paid for everything. My husband stepped in front of her, protective. Mom thinks she funded it. I stared at him in disbelief. What? She thinks she helped, he said casually, like this was normal. I told her you used the money she gave us for my birthday. My jaw dropped. That was $50. He shrugged. Details don't matter. She believes it's hers. So it is. I felt a wave of nausea roll through me. He lied to her. He lied to me. He used both of us, twisting reality to keep his mother happy while keeping me tired and silent, and now he was using both lies to steal the only thing I'd built for myself. He leaned close, lowering his voice so only I could hear. If you don't sign, Mom will sue you. And trust me, she'll win. She'll destroy you. My blood ran cold. Then he added, and I'll divorce you. You'll walk out with nothing. I felt like the floor cracked beneath me. He wasn't threatening because he wanted the restaurant. He was threatening because he wanted control, because if I succeeded, I wouldn't need him, and he knew that. Suddenly, a flood of memories hit me like a punch, the nights I found my savings envelopes missing, and he said, I needed it more than you. The months his mother lived with us, controlling everything, food, furniture, my schedule. The way she criticized me for working too much, then criticized me for not earning enough, the way he always said, Mom just wants what's best. The way he dismissed my dream as a cute hobby. I ignored all of it, because I believed love required patience. Because I hoped he would change. Because I didn't want to admit I married someone who never wanted me to grow. But now the truth was undeniable. They didn't want a wife or a daughter-in-law, they wanted a servant. Behind us, chaos erupted. My mother-in-law was on the phone, pacing dramatically. Yes, come now. Bring the catalog. We're remodeling my place tonight. She waved her arms at the walls like a dictator pointing at territory she conquered. Knock this out. Change the floors. Replace the lighting. I want a modern look. A contractor arrived within minutes, because of course she had already called him earlier. She was never waiting for permission, she was waiting for the moment she could pounce. My restaurant buzzed with people dismantling my dream. My signs. My layout. My vision. Felt something inside me split open. This wasn't about business, this was about dignity. If I let them take this, I would lose every piece of myself I fought to build. I stepped outside for air, but stopped when I heard voices around the corner. My husband's voice, calm, confident, assured. Don't worry, Mom, he said. By tonight, it'll all be yours. My mother-in-law exhaled happily. I knew you'd make it happen, sweetheart. I stood frozen. Tonight, they wanted everything tonight, everything I built, everything I dreamed, everything I sacrificed, and they didn't know, I had heard everything. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't, not after hearing my husband promise his mother that by tonight, the restaurant I built with my sweat and sacrifice would be hers. So instead, I went somewhere he never expected me to go, my lawyer's office. He looked up from his computer the moment I walked in, eyes widening when he saw my expression. I wasn't crying. I wasn't panicked. I wasn't even breathing fast. I was calm. Calm in a way only someone who has hit the bottom and realized there is nothing left to fear can be. I placed the forged documents on his desk. He slid on his glasses, scanned the first page, and then abruptly sat up straighter. Whoever forged this, he said, voice low and serious, didn't even try to hide it. I know, I whispered. He flipped through page after page, my forged signature appearing again and again like a dark fingerprint of betrayal. Then he pulled out a second stack. And these? I swallowed. They want the restaurant in my mother-in-law's name. And she's already trying to trademark my business. He froze. She filed a trademark, he asked sharply. Under her name, I said. She submitted it yesterday. His jaw clenched in anger I had never seen on him. She can't trademark something you created. That's intellectual property theft. My heart dropped. I knew she was planning something, but I didn't know it was this bad. He opened a file on his computer. Did she enter your office last Thursday? My head jerked up. How did you know? He turned the monitor so I could see the footage, surveillance video, grainy but clear. My mother-in-law entering the restaurant's private office after hours, trying multiple drawers, taking my business plans, photographing documents. Searching through my files, even the envelope of emergency cash I hid under the counter. I covered my mouth with my hand. Oh my God. My lawyer leaned forward. We have everything. My breath caught. Everything? He nodded. Forgery. Coercion. Illegally accessing a private business. Attempted theft of intellectual property. An attempted fraudulent transfer of ownership. Then he sat back and said the words that made my spine straighten. You don't need to fight them, just let them keep walking into their own traps. I remembered something my father told me when I was a little girl, sitting with him at his small mechanic's shop. Never show your cards until you win, let them think you're weak, and then end it with truth. I exhaled slowly. So what do I do now? I asked. My lawyer smiled, the kind of smile that means the other side is doomed. You prepare. The next 48 hours were a blur of quiet, calculated steps. I secured my business license under strict protective filing. I froze all financial accounts tied to my name. I transferred my savings to a separate legal entity. I backed up every video, message, recording, and document. I wrote down every moment of manipulation, harassment, and emotional abuse. I filed for an emergency restraining order. I didn't tell my husband. I didn't warn my mother-in-law. I didn't confront them. I pretended to be silent, small, crushed, because sometimes silence is not surrender. It's strategy. Meanwhile, they did exactly what we expected. My husband and his mother celebrated like they'd already won. They took photos inside my restaurant, posted online calling it our new family legacy. Told relatives that I was finally accepting my place. My mother-in-law even told people she was saving the restaurant from me because I didn't know what I was doing. Every lie they spread, every insult they whispered, every fake smile they posted, became fuel, because I knew exactly when I would hit back. 2 days later, they crossed the final line. I arrived at the restaurant in the evening to pick up some paperwork, but as soon as I stepped inside, I froze. They were hosting a family dinner. Inside my restaurant, without asking me, without acknowledging me, without shame. My husband sat at the head of the table like he owned the place. His mother sat beside him, smiling triumphantly as distant relatives congratulated her on her restaurant. Decorations hung on the wall, her grand opening banners she had made without even waiting for my signature. I watched from the doorway, invisible, erased, replaced. For a moment, the old me, the tired, obedient me, wanted to cry, but something inside me stopped the tears. Not anger. Not fear of power, because they didn't realize the difference between me and them. They were celebrating a victory they never earned. I was preparing a victory they could never stop. My footsteps echoed as I walked inside. The room fell silent. My husband's smile vanished. My mother-in-law's grip on her wine glass tightened. I didn't shout. I didn't tremble. I didn't let them see the storm behind my calm. I walked to the center of the room, placed my bag down gently, and folded my hands. My husband stood up quickly, recovering his confidence. "Perfect timing," he said loudly, trying to save face. "We were just about to make an announcement." He gestured to his mother. "Everyone knows my mom deserves this restaurant more than anyone. And tonight, my wife is finally going to admit it." He turned to me, eyes sharp, voice commanding, tone dripping with arrogance. "Tell everyone," he said, "that you're giving the restaurant to my mom." Every pair of eyes in the room turned to me. Waiting, expecting me to break, expecting me to surrender. I lifted my head slowly, and I smiled. A calm, steady, terrifying smile. A smile that made my husband's confidence falter for the first time since this began. A smile that said, "You have no idea what's coming." The room goes still. Husband stands there with that fake confidence he wears like a cheap suit, one hand gripping the back of a chair, the other gesturing toward his mother as if presenting royalty. "Tell everyone you're giving the restaurant to my mom," he repeats, louder now, expecting obedience. But the narrator, no longer trembling, no longer confused, just stands there with that slow, unsettling smile he cannot decode. It's the smile of someone who has already won. She takes one step forward. "You know," she says calmly, "I actually came prepared." Husband's smirk twitches. Mil's proud posture stiffens. Staff members pause mid-task, sensing the shift. The narrator places a single folder on the table, thicker, heavier, organized with deliberate care. She slides it across the polished wood. It stops right in front of her husband. "Open it," she says. He scoffs, but for the first time, there's fear behind his eyes. He flips the cover and freezes. Documents. Certificates. Screenshots. Legal stamps. Timestamp logs. Everything. She tilts her head. "Let's start with the simple one." She pulls out the very first sheet, the legal ownership document, her name printed boldly, her signature verified, government seal at the bottom. "This," she says, "is the business license. Issued to me. Sole owner. Sole operator." Mil's face collapses instantly, like a mask melting. The narrator doesn't pause. Next, she reaches into the folder again and places down a USB drive. Second, surveillance footage. The restaurant manager nods, already knowing what's inside. She clicks a remote, the TV mounted on the wall flickers on. There, in crisp HD color, Mil appears on screen, sneaking into the narrator's private office in the middle of the night. She's rifling through drawers, opening files, taking photos, whispering angrily to herself. At one point she even tries to break open a locked cabinet. The entire restaurant staff gasps, customers craning their neck over their meals watch with their jaws hanging. Mil's hands start shaking, her son looks at her in disgust, but the narrator isn't done. "Third," she says, sliding the next document out, "your forged signatures." Husband snaps up, face bright red. "That's a lie. Someone faked these." She raises a brow. "My lawyer traced the IP, the timestamps, and the device used to submit each form. All from your laptop. The one you said was broken." Customers whisper. Mil's mouth falls open, and lastly, the narrator says, lifting the heaviest document yet, "the trademark application your mother filed, trying to take the restaurant's name." Mil's knees buckle. She drops into a chair, whispering, I only did it because he said you didn't want it anymore." The narrator cuts her off by placing the final paper on the table, a court-issued order, signed. Stamped. Activated that morning. She speaks slowly, clearly. "This order bans both of you from entering my business. Effective immediately." Husband stumbles back like he's been punched. Mill covers her face and cries. The narrator remains still, steady, unbroken. The staff watches with wide eyes. Customers pause their meals. People at tables whisper in shock as the truth keeps unraveling in front of them like a movie playing out in real time. Husband's anger suddenly shifts into desperation. He lunges forward, grabbing her hand. "You don't mean this. Babe, listen, we can talk about this. We can fix this. I messed up, okay? I messed up, but," she steps back, slipping her hand out of his grip with slow, deliberate calm. "I trusted you," she says quietly. "You tried to destroy everything I built." Mil tries to stand, reaching out weakly. Please don't do this, we're family." The narrator shakes her head. "No. Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't take credit for your sacrifice." She gestures to security, already waiting by the door. "Walk them out." The moment is electric. Security gently, but firmly, escorts Mil and her son out of the restaurant. Mil sobs hysterically the whole way. Husband keeps turning back, pleading, promising, bargaining. But the narrator doesn't move. The staff breaks into quiet applause. Customers nod in approval. One woman at a table whispers loudly, "Good for her." The door closes behind them. Silence. Then the narrator exhales, long, steady, victorious. The restaurant is alive. Warm lighting. People lined up outside. Staff smiling. Music floating through the air. The place has become a community hub, popular, respected, thriving like never before. The narrator walks through the dining room with confidence she once only dreamed of. Employees greet her warmly. Regular customers wave. A little girl hands her a handmade drawing of the restaurant. She stops in front of a wall near the entrance, a clean, polished wooden panel she had been saving for something special. In her hand, a metal plaque. She presses it gently against the wall, securing it with two small screws. The camera moves in. She steps back, eyes softening. A small smile forms. Her voice, calm and sure, narrates the final line. No one can steal a dream you built with your own hands. Fade out. End.